Oh boy, it's that time again. Not that bad. It's just I don't like raiding without a full party. So it's such a pain. It's such a pain. What the hell? Who dat? Grumble, grumble. There we go. It reloaded. Get some speakers. There we go. Da 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 da. No. Let me go see if this is gonna work for me. I'm gonna go ahead and repair. And I'm just gonna loot this a couple times. Why isn't it? That's weird. Opened it before I even opened the game. Probably because it's not in. It's probably not gonna be able to pick up though. We'll see if it does. It is not. I'll have to restart. Mochi, you in chat? And let Pine know that I'm live. Where is... There he is. Always gotta let my boy Kai know. No, he's been doing war on Grand Blue Fantasy, and he has been feeling under the weather. Alright, so this should work, right? No KBI towers? What the hell does that mean? I don't even know what any of these words mean. I just don't understand the fight. I guess it's just the way we're gonna do the fight. It closed even. I wish so much we had like a solid static. I feel like if we had like a solid static and everybody was here, we'd be able to clear so fast. Because we did really well with M3, like when we could get there. We just did really bad with M2, which M2 is a fiesta in and of itself. I don't know what it is that we were doing that was wrong. There's something. There's a screw loose somewhere. Just come loose in the middle of the fight every once in a while, and then that fight, as it gets further in, snowballs. So. Left me to AFK in a party. Yeah, that's how it's gonna be, man. I'll be honest with you. I was playing that I was playing TFD all day, dude. Literally all day. Like during work, everything. I was playing the shit out of it because I would read and do the examples that they were giving us for the work system, and then I would go over them a couple times, and then I'd still have like 40 plus minutes left, so I would just get on TFD. And then what she would do is after we spent time with it by ourselves, then she'd go through and then go over everything, and I would listen and look and play TFD. So it's just like I'm ready to do stuff with the system. And I mean, there's a bit of learning. There's a learning curve with everything, right? So even though I'm ready to do stuff, she like gave us like a review, and I was like, oh, it's like I knew like 80% of that stuff like right off the back of my head, but I still had to look up some of it, and it's like I gotta get to where I don't have to look up any of it, and then I'll be good. Which it's always nice to have notes, especially when we're dealing with systems as complex as the pharmacy systems, but I just had so much extra time. And then when she starts helping other people, it like snowballs and eats up even more time. And it's like people don't know how to use their computers but want to do work from home jobs. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. They don't know how to troubleshoot anything. Like, they don't have the troubleshooting mentality or the understanding to troubleshoot. So it like snowballs into a lack of confidence. Like, they don't know what they're doing, and they also don't know how to fix the problem, but they also don't know what they're doing. So kind of a vicious cycle, but once orientation gets done, I feel like I'll sell through my little 90-day like probation, or they have like a probationary period for everybody. I guess they call it introductory period. 90 days. Every place does it. Ugh. New job hard. I would say it's gonna be a lot to learn, but I don't think it'll be difficult. Dr. Insano? I know a Captain Insano. Probably not the same dude. I'll take a screenshot though. And let's go over to Steam. Friends. Satisfactory. That seems to be the game. And Austin's still burning out on the old Final Fantasy. He's addicted. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm. I have to look check in on him, see how he's doing. He's been enjoying Summoner and Scholar. He gave up Monk. Shouldn't take too long to fill a party, right? Mochi, do you want to come along? We do have one person. We do have one pug. You'd be like doing me a favor, man. Because as soon as we clear M3, I'm getting off. Because since Levin's not here, I'm not going in without him. Like, I'm not going to go like, hey, let's get 2 pugs and go in M4. No, I don't care about that much. Genius dumbass. I'm a genius. I'm a dumbass. Peru. That's disgusting. Really good. Waste of the. Waste of. And Dammer. That's the guy that does the. Let's see. I'm not familiar. Oh my god, they left. uh. Mm-mm. Let's see. Where's it at? Active exile to victors. Was this one? Mm-hmm. Early access. Yeah, early access is when I'll. That's so crazy. When is it? No, November 15th? Yeah. Oh, I just, what is going on here? I got an idea. Hold on. Okay. Got an idea. What if I were to, can I add Firefox? Oh, window capture. Whoa, oh, you did it over that. Firefox. Oh. But now. I sure can. Okay, what is there? what is there to go through? When did you do this? This was 5 months ago? Good lord. Here we go. We'll just do this. Karui Warrior. I mean, he was called a warrior on the other one too, wasn't he?
Get up. I have to get up. They need me.
Oh, the melee attacks cleave. Look at that. The way they consistently keep the way the game looks is pretty cool. That's a big shield. Holy. How can you not block with that massive thing? Oh, he's a clubbing away. Rolling slam.
Just what I need.
Oh. Oh. Tiny edits, cut AFKs, and shit posting IRL breaks with Jung out. That's funny. Bonk. Basically, it's like going to fighting Hillock. Same area. Oh, he summoned zombies. Zombers, Bloated Miller. I was kind of hoping that that would pass you through the big enemies. It doesn't make it too easy to attack while avoiding him. I guess if you click past, click past him, you could take advantage of the rolling attack. It's better to just auto though, it seems.
I'm sorry, Brannock. It was me or you. What a fighter. Where have you? There's a big deal next time.
Uncut skill gem? Oh, you can cut it into a gem? Is that still in the game? Devourer. The Devourer. So yeah, I mean these are regular mobs on the first one. Oh my god, that thing's big. Oh, he's stuck. Oh boy. He's probably pissed right now. He's so mad. He can't move. He's like, I can't move. You'd think that he'd be able to get out of that a little bit easier. There we go. Oh, probably just a little bug they need to fix. Hmm. The Rust King.
Last one. Go with honor. There is nothing left to defend.
The hell is a candle mass? Psalm of Madness? Oh, he put himself in the corner. Oh, he is like Earthquake now. And Sunder. That's interesting. He's got quite a wind up on it too. I'll give this shit until 10 o'clock. If we don't find anybody by 10 o'clock, I'm calling it. That's dumb. I was like, I don't have that much time to just sit around doing nothing in the game. God. It's easier when we have 9 people. Or, not 9. 7 people. Where else is... Let's see. What's the execution look like?
Surely we can.
You have been sentenced to death.
Holy shit.
Take you, bastard.
Just wait.
Wait, he cut that dude's head off? He did, didn't he?
Stop. Just wait. Surely we can.
You have been sentenced to death.
Great Wolf, take you, bastard.
Just wait.
It's crazy. Oh! Oh my god. He got executed, dude. He fucking one-shot him.
Just wait.
Those axe swings are insane. Oh god, that's a lot of little dudes. And you have to beat the boss from 100 to 0. Oh! What the hell did he do?
Surely.
Oh my god. Oh, you can see like the ground giving away there too. Like it was like telling him, dude, you need to move. That's interesting. That's pretty cool. Sunder, so he picks up Sunder. Ground slam. Hmm. Seismic Karai. He picks up, right? Leap slam. Hmm. Bwah. Hmm. Whoa. Butterburger? Huh. Pickle bingos.
This is
Or
pickle. Pickle's
pickle
really good.
bongos.
Well, whatever this is. So now you have an emote for it. Over on Twitch side, this is what he does. We don't know why he does this, but he really loves doing this. He does this every day, and then he gets completely soaked, then we gotta dry him off, and then we fill this thing back up with water, and then he does it again. This is Pickle. Pickle's really good at...
It is
Jeez.
currently 3 a.m. in the morning, and I wanted a little bit of a snack, so I'm gonna roast the whole chicken. Here's how to do it with only
What?
5 ingredients, not including the chicken. I know a lot of people that throw away the offal, but don't do that. Use this for a stock. It's really good stuff. Remove the back of the chicken with some kitchen scissors. If you can't do it, get somebody with big fingers to do it, because this is kind of hard. Kind of look like salchichas. Turn it over and give it a little oomph. And invert the legs. Rosemary, black pepper, garlic powder, and some ocean. The last ingredient's oil. And make sure you're generous with the seasoning. I want that chicken more salty than your ex when they found out what they lost. Because you're worth it. Now put this in the fridge so the flavor can penetrate through the breast. After 30 minutes, throw in a 400-degree oven just to crisp up the skin, and then 350 to finish the cooking. I'm gonna take a piece right now because it's super hot and juicy. I don't really like doing this, but that's pretty crispy. Let me know what's your guys' favorite late night snack. And you can't say roasted chicken. Salty, garlicky, rosemary, black peppery, chickeny. Oh, you thought I threw these out? Heck no, I gotta make a good stock with this. No waste. It is currently 3 a.m. in the morning, and I wanted a little bit of a snack, so hard. Kind of look like...
So what do you use for the seasonings?
The last ingredient's oil.
Garlic
Make sure you're generous
powder,
with the
salt.
seasoning. I want that chicken more salty than your ex when they found out what they lost. Because you're worth it. Now put this in the...
He put a lot on there.
Yeah. Yo, that fucking cop just went right past us, bro. You need to go. The cop is coming. Go. Okay. Are you coming with me? Go. Bro, are you good? I got away. I'm in behind some fucking bank. This guy's on my fucking ass, bro. Oh my god. I'm behind some fucking bank. I'm fine. Come on. Oh my god. Go, bro. Try to get the fuck away. We're going too fast. Bro, he's on my fucking ass. Fuck, bro. Hold on, I'm about to turn it here. Okay. Fuck, bro. He caught us, bro. What are you doing? What do you mean he caught us? No, he didn't. I was fine. Bro, he caught us, bro. Fuck. Us? Yes, sir. Slowly. Yes. Hands up.
That's funny.
Number 1, the legendary mission where you and Reznov place the Soviet flag is based on the final days of the war in Europe.
Was I wrong, or was this guy just being a jerk? When I was selling sandwiches out of my dorm room in college, I would occasionally get special requests for off-menu sandwiches. This one guy had asked if I could make him a ham and cheese panini, and I had everything I needed, so I said sure. I used 2 slices of bread, some ham, and cheese. Pretty straightforward, right? Well, the guy came back 5 minutes later and told me that I had made the sandwich completely wrong and he wanted his money back. Apparently what he wanted me to make was a sandwich using just ham and cheese. Like literally use ham as the bread and melt some cheese in the middle. So I made him the sandwich exactly how he wanted and I gave it to him. But before he left with the new sandwich, he pulled a badge out of his wallet and explained that he belonged to an exclusive group called the Ham and Cheese Purists of America, or HACPOA for short. He said that HACPOA is a secret society with some of the world's most
What in the world am I
powerful.
looking at?
If I ever told anyone about what had happened that day, or that I even knew about the existence of HACPOA, they would find me and do unspeakable things. So please do me a favor and don't tell anybody about this. Was I wrong, or was this guy just being a jerk?
That doesn't make any sense. That's way too much. That's insanity. What in the world? What am I looking at? I don't know if he's here, but
all I'm doing with my hands is this. It probably doesn't look like that when I swing, does it? But that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing this right here as fast as I can do it. Okay? But also, I've got my leg screwed into the ground. My foot is screwed into the ground so that when I do this, it turns me and it gives you a totally different look. It's exactly what I'm doing, but it looks different. Okay? I'll do it slow. I'm gonna do that. And at the same time, my leg moves me right there. So it looks like this. Okay? But all I'm doing...
damn.
Today we're gonna be making an apple pie mixed drink using Fireball and Martinelli's apple juice. So let's pour this shit up. Let's come in here with this glass.
Say what?
Fireball aka the devil's piss. Let's get a healthy shot in here.
That's a lot.
That should be good. Now let's come in here with some of this Martinelli's apple juice. Hit it from the back to wake up that flavor. Let's fill this up.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about
Give
this.
this a little mix.
What the hell? Is he using a PlayStation 5?
Cheers, y'all. Apple pie.
Ain't no way. I don't believe it.
This tastes exactly like the filling to apple pies. Perfect for the holidays. I'm gonna give this a 10 out of 10.
I don't
We have
believe
this
it.
new soccer shooting.
Naming sandwiches after the most notorious gangsters.
Oh, I like this
ever.
guy.
This is the Al Capone. Born January 17, 1899 in Brooklyn, Al Capone turned to crime after being expelled from school. He rose through the ranks of Chicago under Johnny Torrio, eventually taking over his operation. But Capone's ruthlessness reached its peak in the infamous St. Valentine's Day Massacre. When rival gang were inside in the garage waiting for a liquor drop, Capone's men disguised as police lined them up on the wall and took him out. His downfall, though, came to Treasury Agent Elliot Ness and his team, the Untouchables. In 1931, Capone was indicted on charges for tax evasion and sentenced to 11 years in Alcatraz. Naming sandwiches after the most notorious gangsters to ever live.
That looks good. My God. That's funny.
What's new with you?
Have you tried spatch?
Christmas tree. Oh, this dude right here makes crazy burritos.
That's been aching on all of our minds about whether you can call the burrito a dumpling. Some think the fillings have to be cooked inside the starch for it to qualify, so I'm going to try and abide by the rules to make something that's undeniably a dumpling and a burrito. And the easiest way to seal my gyoza is with one central pinch, then a few folding pinches going to the center from each side, just like so till you get a whole bun. And chuck them all into some butter to crisp up, along with a nicely seasoned cornflour slurry to let steam, then release to get these cheeky gyoza. But you may be wondering where the burrito comes into all this, so after making a cheeky homemade chili oil and cutting out some chicken thighs with garlic, ginger, lime, soy, yogurt and bicarb to tenderize overnight. And now I get a mix of different flours and spice to dip in my chicken thighs to coat the sides and deep fry it until crisp, and dipping it into that chili oil and bak choy, then get it wrapped up into a burrito, then baste with a flour paste, lay atop my crispy gyoza plate and deep fried until crisp. Before getting this carefully sliced right open, it's looking unholy but absolutely banging and ready for a dip and a drip and a good old Everyone's arguing at the minute, and I think it's finally time to settle a debate that's been aching on all of our minds about whether you can call the burrito a dumpling. Some think the fillings have to be cooked inside the starch to qualify, so I'm going to try and abide by the rules to make something that's undeniably a dumpling and a burrito. And the easiest way to seal my gyoza is with one.
I want to see what this is. Who's making gyoza? Crispy gyoza coated burrito?
And chuck them all into some butter to crisp up, along with a nicely seasoned cornflour slurry to let steam, then release to get these cheeky gyoza. But you may be wondering where the burrito comes into all this, so after making a cheeky homemade chili oil and cutting out some chicken thighs with garlic, ginger, lime, soy, yogurt and bicarb to tenderize overnight. And now I get a mix of different flours and spice to dip in my chicken thighs to coat the sides and deep fry it until crisp, and dipping it into that chili oil and bak choy, then get it wrapped up into a burrito, then baste with a
That looks so good, actually.
crispy gyoza plate and deep fried.
Did he just wrap that burrito? And he sure did.
Unholy but absolutely banging and ready for a dip and a drip and a good old.
What?
Everyone's
What in the world? He did one thing where it was like, he did one thing that was like crazy. No, not that one. Where's that other one? Oh yeah, this one was crazy.
Does anybody else think that after the hostile 2006 takeover by Cheesy Bites, it might be time for stuffed crust pizza to finally make its comeback? So after grilling the steak and basting with a garlic chili butter and let rest, I'll cut up some chorizo and dice an onion and get it cooked, squeezing over a bit of honey to char. And then into a bowl with some rice and lots of different cheeses, then my beans and a squeeze of sauce, and get that gorgeous ribeye cut up into thin little strips and tiny little bits to mix in with some coriander and into a bag and squeeze. And I made a cheeky pizza dough, which I'll get cut and balled up like so to let rise, then dip in semolina on both sides. And this is the only acceptable time to use a rolling pin when making pizza, because we need the base to be super even to seal in the burrito inside the crust. And then onto my peel with a load of tomato sauce and plenty of cheese with a few slices of chorizo and jalapenos, a dusting of parmesan, and bang it into the pizza Allow the crust to rotate till it's nice and puffed up, and then brush the crust with garlic butter till it's looking gorgeous, and serve it up, cutting into these little pieces, looking absolutely unreal, but needing a cheeky little mashed up batch of guac so it's ready for a good old scram. Does anybody else?
That looks so good. I'd be totally down for it.
The descendants of Genghis Khan, which makes it pretty hard to invent a new one, but that ain't gonna stop me trying. So I'm making a royal pasta dough with just the egg yolks brought together, then knead and let rest.
Let's go back.
Everyone's arguing at the minute.
It is currently 3 a.m. in the morning, and I wanted a little bit of a snack.
Oh, I've already done that. Let's go down here. Let's go here. Corn.
If corn is a fruit, does that mean bourbon belongs in the same category as drinks like Sexy on the Beach and mojitos?
Is corn a fruit? Botanically speaking, corn is a fruit. It is produced from the flower or the ovary of the corn plant. Specifically, corn is classified as a caryopsis, a one-seeded fruit where the seed pod and the flesh are tightly joined together.
Wait, what?
Whiskey is ketchup.
If corn is a fruit,
Whiskey is ketchup.
Category as drinks like Sexy on the Beach and mojitos.
What the
Why do you
hell?
think I try to put so many motivational shorts up? Because I know you're doom scrolling, and I know when you find one of those, it snaps you out of it. I try to put up as many motivational shorts as possible, so they're like landmines for doom scrolling.
Look at that.
That's the whole point. You find me in that doom scroll, and it breaks the doom scroll. That's the point of it. Get off your goddamn phone. Yeah. Why do you think I try to put so many motivational shorts?
Get off your goddamn phone. He right. Wait, Final Fantasy 14 is bad. Let's fix it.
Guys, Lulu here.
What?
You're having a shit day.
I hope you're having
Have
a
you
shit
ever
day.
loved a
God
game
damn.
which started out amazing and was game of the year, and then
Dude.
a bunch of monkeys ended up running the show, made it bomb harder down the toilet, harder than a post.
Yo, get out of here talking about Overwatch like that.
Uninspired decisions. Well, my darlings, that is Overwatch.
It was a
2.
really good
Wish I
game.
could be game director on that game. Today, however, we're talking about Final Fantasy. Have you ever fantasized? You see what I did there? About being in charge of a game or movie
Let's see.
franchise and swooping in to fix it?
Rude.
Well, today we are. Let's fucking do this. I asked
So-
you all the other day on my social media.
Trying to figure out.
if you were
So what exactly is bad in Final Fantasy 14 right now? Like if we were to make a list and say this here is a definitive bad in Final Fantasy. Now, I've heard some bad things about the rate tier. The rate tier has been fun, a lot of fun. It's been it's had its ups and downs. So I think that's mostly because of like people making mistakes and those mistakes snowballing. But I mean that's how raids are supposed to feel. It's supposed to be hard. So I don't know. I heard that the fourth floor is like kind of a letdown when it comes to the difficulty spike. Like you know, it's no P8, you know. And then P4 was really good for its phase 1 to phase 2. I never got to fully experience phase 2 on content, but I mean it was cool. Like there's some cool shit with it. And then I didn't do P12. I didn't do that right tier, so I can't really say much. I mean the only thing that I can even really say, Lulu looks like a G poser. Hey yo, you know what I'm saying? Lulu definitely looks like a G poser. Who? What? Hold on. What?
movie franchise
What gave it away?
swooping
What gave it away?
in to fix it? Well, today we are. Let's fucking do this. I asked.
But I mean, the only thing I can think of is like the whole the Dawn Trail story. Like, there are a lot of bad elements. Like, it was a delicious sandwich, and I can say this: Dawn Trail was a delicious sandwich. But then they put flecks of shit in my delicious sandwich, and it just ruined the whole thing. Like, you can't have pieces of shit in your sandwich and it be a good sandwich. Like, it should have been a delicious sandwich. It had the recipe to be one, but then they put shit in it, right? I mean, that shit came in a couple different forms. One of those forms is in the form of Wooklamat, that character. Now, and this is like a fair criticism, but Wooklamat's just not that great of a character. Kaona was. It should have been a Kaona story, not a Wooklamat story. And the reason I say that is because they tried to make Luffy, they tried to make Naruto, and it just didn't work. In fact, they took what made Luffy and Naruto good characters and just turned it into dog shit, and then served it to us and said, "Here, have your story." But not only that, the supposed time skip that wasn't even a real time skip, that was also really bad. So the trope that like One Piece and Naruto set up is like they're wannabe heroes, and Luffy really shows this because he's not very strong like off the rip. He has some strengths to him, but he's not very strong off the rip. I mean, it's basically the Goku story, right? But it's done in a very like very happy-go-lucky way, rather than it being like crazy serious. But One Piece gets pretty serious later on. Like they have some pretty strong tropes, and pretty strong like backstory in that show that makes the show. And they basically tried to make One Piece without the backstory or the character that's weak that had proper growth. They basically went from like Sphene is baby Goku, with the brain damage and everything, but she's got adult Goku's powers. And then by the end of the story, she's Super Saiyan God. Like she completely skipped the Frieza fight. Krillin didn't have to die. Never met Vegeta, right? Well, I guess Galo, what was it? Galo Jaja could be a Vegeta. So, you know, like maybe, but not really. And then effectively Zoro Ja was Brawly, but not really. Like the prodigal son, which Broly is he's the quintessential Super Saiyan. Like he was so angry that he was born with the power level and the ability to become a Super Saiyan, and he never like desisted. He was just so goddamn angry. But I don't know, like it was such a weird sell. It didn't make any sense. And then they had the time skip, and then they had Sphene, and they did Sphene dirty because she didn't really get her time in the sun to develop properly, right? And then the infight where she's like Sphene and then breaks through the wall, and it's like, oh god, what the fuck? Like that doesn't make any sense. It's like suddenly Wuklamat is on the same level as the Warrior of Light, which doesn't make any sense. Because then... So... Oh no. I just had a thought. So, if you're gonna make a character on the same level as the Warrior of Light, they either need to A, be like Graha, which Graha is about the I would say he's almost the equivalent of the Warrior of Light because he has another shard or another complete soul within his soul, and he has like an entire lifetime experience, so he can call upon abilities that normally people wouldn't be able to do. Because to be able to sync with a soul gem, or not soul gem, did I say soul gem? Fucking gem, whatever. For class, you have to be a pretty exceptional person, and you have to be selected by it. And then we're just like magically able to do that, mostly because of our background as one of the main big dick like ancients, right? Like that's who our soul is tied to. And it got me thinking, like, just that second of like thought, thinking, okay, they want to make Wuklamat equal to, and I really hope this isn't how it goes. They were talking about one of the Asians that we have not seen at all. Now, they, like with Fandaniel, they wake up the souls of people. So, was this Asian active? Supposedly, yes. What fragment is Wuklamat? That would be such a weird turn, and I would hate it so much. It could also be that she turned out to be Sphene. So, again, that fragment. They had put so much importance on what fragments people were, and their backgrounds, and the density of their souls, and so on and so forth. Like, it just feels like that they're taking parts of the story that and just they're not making sense of it. It just doesn't. Fragment D's.
Anorex says Fragment D's.
Yep. But I mean, there's so much to the story that it feels like they're leaving so much stuff out. It really does. There needs to be some like sort of definitive lore or something like that. And it feels like there isn't, or we're missing something. We don't have enough information. They're intentionally misleading us. Because again, powerful souls have backgrounds. Those backgrounds are tied to beings of the past, because the world's one big recycling of, you know, the same people over and over again. People showing up from the past in the future. I mean, that was the same with the ancients. The ancients would go into slumber and then be reborn effectively. I mean, they would intentionally end their cycle to return to the star, and then their aether would be reborn in another being. So, I don't know. Like, and it's obviously so distinct and so like purposely stuck out that the Asians could dip people out of the fucking star and find like the souls that they're looking for. I don't know. Most times stories that go on too long get too large for the multiple writers or even a singular writer to properly keep track of. Yeah, I mean that's the thing.
Says most times stories that go on too long get too large for the multiple writers or even a singular writer to keep proper track of.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. That is definitely the thing. Like the story itself and managing it and like finding all the connecting pieces is more than a full-time job, and you need more than one person that manages all that stuff. You would effectively need like a person for each type of like lore nugget you want to track, and then disseminate that work to several different people to return to the central person to then return to the source, KEKW, and talk about it, right? So then they could keep all of their T's crossed and their I's dotted. Not get any weird shit going on, for sure. You see comments from people who have no idea what just happened in the chapter they just read, usually because they're skipping shit. Yeah, unfortunately. It's so ridiculous. Let's dabble into this, let's react into this, but that we were trying to find out what's bad in Final Fantasy, so let's see what Lulu has to say.
You all the other day on my social media if you were given the power to become Yoshi P. What changes or additions would you add to the game if you had the power to do it? Honestly, the responses were as unhinged as I expected coming from the Final Fantasy community. Some of you
Actually true. True. Yes. Lulu's 100% right about that. If you ask the Final Fantasy community anything, you will get the most unhinged, ridiculous responses you can think of.
You had some wild ideas like bringing the sex, lol, and oiling up Baby Merrick. You unhinged fuckers. It's a great idea, by the way. Some of you strongly wanted a certain feature from another successful MMO. Can you guess what it is? Please don't fucking cancel me. Anyways, today I'm going to show some of the things you want, with hopes the developer senpais see this feedback and ideas. Ideally, it'd be great if one day they could implement these ideas. I mean, chat bubbles are coming, so hey, anything is possible. Give me butt sliders, please. Enough stalling. My ADHD is kicking in. Let me get my visual K-wig and raid Hot Topics ring collection. We're
Jesus Christ.
Oh, stick around to the end of the video. I'll share my personal thoughts on what I'd add to the game. If you want to hear what I do, it'll make you commit Sudoku. Anywho, enough fucking around. Let's start this shit. Number 1, glamour. Yeah, shut the fuck up. I tried my best to sound hype, okay? Let's start out strong. This feature has been brought up by you guys a lot. You have to admit, when you think about Final Fantasy XIV's glamour chest, it is a fucking mess. It's like trying to navigate through Asmongold's lair by scent alone.
Jesus Christ, are we gonna like visit like all the creators that touch this, or is it gonna be like a Mr. Happy and a Xenos reference? Like beards and bald heads, proper beards, proper bald for every character.
Every direction you're fucked. For those of you who might be new to the game, how glamoring works is, once you obtain an armor piece, you either store it in your bags, armory chest taking up space, or storing it into...
See, this is something I never understood, is, I mean, I kind of understand it because they have it with the limited housing system. So they can only fit so many houses. There's only so much data that Final Fantasy XIV and its backend database can handle. Like, this is obvious. People probably don't understand that, but it's obvious. So why is it that games like World of Warcraft and even Guild Wars 2 can make a system that when you touch a piece of gear, the image of that gear, when you touch it and it becomes bound to you, goes into a separate folder that you can then open up like almost like a character chest, and then go through those things and then look at them, look at the different like items. There's also like a full like catalog already built into the game that tells you where the items come from. I.e. not Final Fantasy, but Guild Wars 2 and World of Warcraft. And one of the reasons why they can't do it is because they have a databasing issue in this game. Like it's obvious. Like that's one of the reasons why you can't have infinite numbers of houses. That's why they can't do the WildStar type of housing, where everybody gets their own island and you can visit everybody. You know, you get like, you go and you farm these designs and you can have like a big house, you can have like a tiny house, you can have a medium-sized house, and you can have a fucking roller coaster. Game too old, time to remake again? Yeah, probably. But the thing is that WildStar, when did WildStar come out? WildStar came out before Final Fantasy had its remake, because I played WildStar off the rip. The only reason I stopped playing it is because everybody I wanted to play with quit the game, because it's hard to compete with World of Warcraft, and the way they did in-game in that game was difficult to compete with World of Warcraft. Yo, hold up, I'll be right back. Give me a second. Yeah, WildStar died, which is unfortunate, because I mean, it was a game, I'll be honest, it was ahead of its time. Because after WildStar was gone, you know what all the people are saying? Man, I wish we had this, this, and this, and this. And it's like, yeah, all that shit was in WildStar, dude. It all existed in another game. That MMO players are both, well, I blame MMO players and MMO developers, because MMO players are too jaded, and MMO developers cater way too hard to people when they want to be catered to. And unfortunately, I think it's just the nature of the beast of these games, is because they had like a meaningful leveling experience. It was fun to level in that game. It was fun to do all the dungeons. It was fun to do PvP. The end game was rough. And the only reason it was rough is because it was challenging, as like end game should be. That's not to say like Final Fantasy or World of Warcraft or anything like that don't have challenging end games, because they do. They do have end game with challenge. But these were like, you had to beat, like it was like the mythic dungeon timer just to get loot, which I don't mind that, because at the end, when you complete the dungeon and you get your gold rank in it, even if you don't get your drop, you could still build the gear afterwards. I mean, look at Asmongold. Fella spent 15 years on one fucking game and has no real knowledge outside of World of Warcraft. True. The thing about it is that, and I think we'll watch the Force Gaming video too if you know, if we continue. But let's continue with this video. But I was gonna say another thing is that the leveling experience in MMOs does not mean anything. It has no depth. It has no feeling. Now, Final Fantasy has a good leveling experience because you spend a good amount of time in the story doing stuff as you make your way to endgame. So you can level different classes using the roulettes and the different resources that you have on top of doing the story. And the story fights actually have some level of failure to them, that if you do fail them enough, they do offer you, hey, you want to do an easier mode of this. So, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that Final Fantasy offers, too. But, yeah. Yep.
To a glamour chest with limited storage space. From either your bags or the glamour chest, you can apply the appearance of that item to your current set. I feel it is very outdated, confusing, and clunky. Most other MMOs have some feature to save bag space with regards to glamour. Anyways, some of you had very strong opinions on this topic. Let's have a look. Dizzle says, a World of Warcraft like virtual transmog library, so we don't have to physically store items. You guys really want Square Enix to rip off the
Everything comes off looking like a spreadsheet,
don't you little shits? Just to prove it. Look how many fucking people said the same thing. Let's speed fire them. Gura, pull out the machine gun.
Masturbate, here we go.
So, for those of you who haven't played WoW, their glamour system is a lot more streamlined, so let me break it down. And before you WoW haters complain in the comments, shut the fuck up before I delete your favorite glamour. When you obtain an armor piece in WoW, you instantly have
What
that
the fuck?
appearance added to your transmogrification library. You can sell, destroy the item, and still keep the appearance for glamoring, meaning your bags and inventory space are freed up. You don't require a special currency like glamour prisms either. Just gold. I think glamour prisms need to be fucking gone at this point. With this system,
I agree with that.
you
Glamour
can also
prisms at this
see
point need
what
to be
parts of
gone.
gear collect-
See, they talk about a databasing issue, but they have so much extra shit in the game. Like glamour prisms for systems that have databasing issues. Like glamour. They have like totems for every boss in the game, which is fine. But I feel like that would probably attribute to a databasing issue on the back end, right? Okay, cool. Anyways.
You have acquired, meaning
So-
it encourages you to go out farming glamour with achievements attached to completing collections. Yoshi P, don't let that fucking furry game have a better glamour system than us.
Did she just call World of Warcraft a fucking furry game? Yo, homie, she ain't wrong, to be honest. Like you're literally like a furry animal. I think it's on the horde side. You're a little fox dude. Literal furry. I mean, there's Worgans too, but I mean, Worgans are a mix between like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. There's a werewolf. You turn into a fucking werewolf. That's a little bit different. I mean, I guess you can be a Tauren, but I mean, would you really consider Tauren a furry? I mean, we both played Tauren. I played a shaman. You played a druid. And I mean, you're like tripling down. You're tripling down on the furry too, dude. You were a cow that could turn into a bear, that could turn into a cat, that could turn into a jaguar, that could turn into a bird. So yeah, I wouldn't call a Tauren druid a furry. You're the biggest furry, dude. Cause it was a neat race and shit. Actually, yeah, the cool thing about Tauren that never got added was planes running in like totems. Like freaking Tauren were like just big minotaurs. Big minotaur enemies. Didn't come off like a furry. Alright, whatever you say, anal furry. Or furrobrax. I'm kidding. Alright, let's move on.
Why don't we have this in Final Fantasy? I think Final Fantasy XIV could have something even better if they tried, and possibly create the best glamour system in the MMO space.
Did I jump scare you? Yeah, I bet I did. You coward. You make me sick. Your weakness is pathetic.
Got your attention, huh? Good. I want you to hit
Jump
that
scare
like
you?
and subscribe
What
button.
the fuck?
Please, it helps. Oh, check out my Patreon too, because I need money. I'm literally fucking homeless. I swear to God, don't you dare touch that fucking dislike button, baka. Anyway, what was I saying before I casually interrupted? Oh yeah, number 2, the fucking global cooldown. Yes, I know there are hundreds of you veterans collectively farting right now as we get into this, but hold your horses and let me ask, any of you WoW refugees? I can smell you from over here. Well, you've been living good over there in the world of Azeroth with that short global
They sure have been.
cooldown. At least we know how to raid without add-ons. Hey, don't hate me. I'm a WoW player too. Here in Final Fantasy, we have the power to stop time and space. Don't believe me? Check this out, motherfuckers.
Bam. GCD though, dude. What's up, Guardians Una? How you doing? Oh my god. A year and 50 seconds.
You get the picture.
Making my way
See,
through
I told you I can
Donjro?
move
Yeah, right
time and
on.
Space. Impressed?
Well, you don't have to worry about any spoilers here. I'm just
I'm sure many veterans
Just big
know that the
chillin'.
global cooldown is the way it is so that people have time to do things in between the main actions. I personally think the combat is a very odd topic to talk about as a casual player. I mean, I ain't qualified. I stand around taking fucking selfies all day like a narcissist. I do think
True.
the jobs have lost their unique
Mochi, you're right.
identities over the years. And
Lulu is a G poser.
I did like the cross abilities you could work towards getting back in the day.
You know, and that's one thing I don't understand. Why do casual players try and put so much weight in how they feel about things? Like, I'm not saying that their feelings aren't valid. It's just that you spend so little time doing what you're complaining about. And not only that, you do it in its easiest form. Basically, your gameplay is, here's a cup. Add water to it. Drink water. Congratulations. You've beaten the game. But like, and I get people are like, oh, you know, like, casual players make the world go around. They really do. They pay the bills. They play the game long term. They play it longer than people that, well, I mean, I don't know if that's, well, no, that is true. Statistically speaking, you do have a lot of people that play the game at a higher level that play the game for a long time. But it's like the complaints of, I don't know, like casual players getting like deep into wanting the game to be a certain way is weird, in my opinion. It's like you can, and people are like, well, casual players raid too. And it's like, yeah, now casual raiders are different, but like casual players, just as she said, where it's like, I sit around, I take pictures, I beat the story, that's about it. Like, I get, what are you really adding to the game when you're complaining about things? Like, things were literally made easier. Ezra Casual, the game being a certain way keeps me from being a hardcore raider. Thinking about it, Tarn was also forced on us just to play the class. Scammed. Actually, no, trolls couldn't be druids until later, you're right. No, trolls could be druids. Or was it trolls could be shamans? Now I'm so confused. Well, the thing about it is like, people equate raiding with hardcore when that's not true at all. When you look at a casual player that plays a game like, I want to say like Persona or something like that. When you're casually playing through it and you're getting all the trophies and stuff, you don't have to be a hardcore player to do that. There's some certain parts of the game that are more difficult that require you to maybe press more than 3 buttons or something like that, or figure out some things. But it's like sitting down and saying that casuals can't be raiders. I don't believe that, because I'm a casual player. I play the game casually. I think most raiders play the game casually because they log in just to raid. I would say that's pretty casual. That's a pretty casual investment. You're just chasing another thing. Now, be it, a lot of people will say, well, it's hard because you wipe on bosses and you die, and it's like, so being casual to game now means you never die? I can't connect those two things, because at the same time, it's also saying, it's also using casual as a derogatory term, like saying that casuals can't do anything. I was talking about casual from a standpoint of how she was saying, people that only play through the story and will only do like a certain level of content. That's okay. You can play the game and do that. Casual to me is sitting around looking for vanity, of course. With Final Fantasy XIV, I feel the traditional and conventional naming or classification is flipped. I don't know, even in World of Warcraft you could casually make your way through stuff, because I used to raid with, so when I played vanilla WoW originally, it was the casual MMO. What did it mean to be a casual in World of Warcraft? Well, back then hardcore games are all about hundreds of hours to level, maybe working towards a PvP goal or a meta achievement. But World of Warcraft took leveling, made it significantly shorter compared to these other games. The game had backstory, interesting story. What's up, Crazy Train? And then on top of that, it had higher difficulty stuff where it took you know, a little bit of coordination, some crowd control, and, you know, a little bit of focus to get through it. And then Final Fantasy 14, getting your glamour and getting your mounts, spamming shit over and over to get it, I feel is more hardcore. Now that I think about it, I feel like the curve for casual has just gone, like the floor has gone further and further down. And I think that people use the word and keep driving casual down lower and lower because it went from being the amount of time you invest to the skill layer of the level of the player. I mean, a noob is a noob. I mean, I can agree with that. Like, but I can't say a casual is a noob, because a casual, even if you play the game casual, there are casuals out there that know a lot about their class. Now, I'm not going to say that they're on the same level as one of those mathing crazies in like one of those mathing crazies on the balance, like one of those like crazy people. But a casual can spend a lot of time on a specific class and learn that class and then raid on that class. That's why gear exists. Casual is definitely just someone who plays sometimes instead of no-lifing it. I'm mathing crazy in Final Fantasy 11, not 14. Yeah, which you would probably be a pretty good Final Fantasy 14 player if you applied to wanting to do the raids. The thing about it is like the raids probably don't interest you that much to that level. Now, if you get enough gear, like if you get gear, enlisted, no, I don't want to play any other games, man. I've been there's too many games to play, and I already fucked around on too many of them. So, but anyways, I feel like the game opens up for a lot of people because you can like get on, like you said, get on, cap your tomes, get off, and you can get that gear. And at the same time, having that gear in the raids now it makes raids very doable for everybody. No one loves me. I mean, if you say it that way, I didn't say I didn't love you. I just said I didn't want to jump on any more games. I already have too many games that I play, and I keep expanding and going in different directions with it. It eats up a lot of time. I don't have all the time in the world. It sucks. I try to make time for certain things like doing raid and stuff like that. Now I'm sitting on stream reacting to a Lulu video. But what was I saying? Yeah, casual doesn't mean bad. I mean, like I said, even you, Yuna, could probably get into doing see, there you go. Age of Empires 2 casting and competitive things. You're more competitive in another game, so you're casually playing through Final Fantasy 14. But yeah, if you were to focus your powers of competitiveness on Final Fantasy 14, I think you, just like anybody else, could find their way into doing raiding. Now, I'm not saying like cutting edge raiding, but you could token up, get some gear. People worry about best in slot way too much in this game. Just get some gear, get some eye level, go in, punch the boss. In all honesty, it dies. Easy. BDO? I haven't really played BDO in a while, man. I think I logged in. Cause nerd. Yeah, I mean, I feel you on that. I haven't really fucked with BDO in a while. I logged into BDO the other day to I have like some leftover pearls on my account, so I use them to buy stuff for the Berserk event. So I got the warrior armor, so I have the full like guts armor with the great sword. I got something for the shy, and that's about it. And I logged out. And I left. I still have like a bunch of pearls on my account because I bought them on discount. I think I spent like $80. No, it was $100. They gave you $200 worth of pearls, and this was like a while ago. It was like several months ago. Because I thought I was gonna keep playing, and I ended up not continuing to play. So yeah, I'll be playing Path of Exile 2 once that drops for sure. Anyways, let's see what Lulu has to say. It's like 4 minutes left in the video, and we've been like talking this whole time.
Well, perhaps in the next expansion, a big shakeup is due and all classes are reworked with a tighter global cooldown. Okay,
I don't believe
still
that.
Here? This next one would kill the modding community overnight. I swear. Got your attention? Good. 2 words. Character creation. It's been 10 fucking years already. I think it's time we had an overhaul
14 years.
of the character creator tool. I mean, come on, you can't disagree that Final Fantasies is probably the worst out of all of the MMOs, with very little in regards to customization.
I wouldn't say it's the worst. I would say it was on par with World of Warcraft, and then World of Warcraft did better by updating theirs. They're still working with the 1.0 system, and I think they just need to scrap their character creator and make it from scratch. Which, again, we don't know what they're doing behind the scenes. They don't tell us everything that they're doing. All they do is drop hints. Like, hey, we're going to want to redo things so classes feel unique in the next expansion. Okay, cool.
Every day when in Limsa, it's basically that imposter Spider-Man meme. Seriously though, we have not had any changes or additions apart from hairstyles to the character creation since A Realm Reborn. If you count the original base game before Reborn, which had Miko Te and a few other base races in the game, they haven't been updated in over 10 years, which is fucking abysmal. I would propose the addition of customizable makeup, eyelashes, fingernails, teeth,
Give me
eye
Final
shapes,
Fantasy 11
and
awesome
even be able
graphics
to
and I'll
mix
lose my
horn
job.
types with different faces. Having this would allow people to represent themselves a little better and not resort to the dark side of Final Fantasy XIV, if you know what I mean. Anyway, next. Am I right in saying you've probably tried the Crystalline Conflict PvP mode and thought, man, this would be so much better if I could play this with friends? Yeah, fucking same. Suffering together with friends is just better for some reason. Plus, you have someone to blame when shit goes wrong, am I right? Seriously though, I think they might not have implemented duo queuing because the developers probably think it would create an unfair advantage. If that is the case, I think screw that. Square Enix,
People
please just
already-
look at every other competitive game on the
Well, I mean, like, that's bullshit because here's the kicker. There's not a huge pool of PvPers, and if you sync your queues up, you can typically land in the same game. Like, realistically speaking. Me and Ron did this repeatedly. We would either be on opposite teams or we'd be on the same team. And if we were on opposite teams, we weren't trying to throw anything, we would just fight. I was a paladin, so I'd tunnel him because he was a pictomancer. It was a lot of fun. He got mad at me a lot because all I'd do is beat him in the head with my shield and stun him for like 4 seconds at a time, every 15 seconds or 10 seconds or so. And then when he went to go focus somebody, I would chain onto them and cover them, and then I would pop my ultimate and then run them away. Because then I would be immune to all damage. And Pictomancer doesn't have any CC in PvP. I don't think Pictomancer has any CC at all. So, yeah. It's a lot of fun.
market. For example, you could fill the party out with 2 duos and a solo and mirror that on the other team to keep things fair. Just like in how most competitive shooters do it. For certain, I would definitely spend loads of time grinding out that PvP battle pass for the exclusive goodies if I could do it together with a friend, just like I.
That's another thing that doesn't make any sense is they didn't bring back. So they were supposed to be rotating out series rewards, but they've yet to do that yet. I need me an updated, overhauled Guild Wars 1.
Do in Overwatch and Fortnite. Wait, who am I kidding? I don't have any friends, so what the fuck am I talking about? Anyway, that's your top picks. Here's what I'd most want to see. 1. Have hairstyles attached to glamour plates so you can use different hairstyles for various glamours. 2. I'm in complete agreement that the dev team needs to have their own version of a WoW transmog system. In comparison, the glamour chest with its plates are very clunky and
I mean,
very
these are all good points.
Add a collection tab, which shows you everything you have collected, like glamours, pets, and mounts. That way, it can show things you are missing. Add on to that an achievement system, and I think we could be cooking. I want to see another calamity for the next expansion. Fuck it.
I like number 4. Let's have another Realm Reborn. Let's just nuke the world. Oh, he came over? Do a level reset with new characters. I mean, fuck it. If you don't want to kill off any individual cast, just use a calamity and kill everybody, including the Warrior of Light, and then we can make new characters. That'd be great. Makes sense to me. What do you want?
Wipe out everything and start the game again from level 1.
React
to level
streaming, let's
16.
go!
Kill off the Scions too. They're fucking worn out at this point. We need new characters to befriend who aren't annoying, like Wook Lamau. Anyway, you guys have
Wook
so many
Lamau.
responses. Too much to fill in this video. Jesus. Why don't you sound off in the comments below on what you'd like to see?
That's funny. Yeah, I hear him. What's up, bud? Crazy. What's up? Oh yeah, there's a right there. Yeah, I just last night. Last night of what is he? What do you mean? What's UNF? Is that the war? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense what everything with this with what they've done with the game. They need to do something. I do have to agree with that. And they have to like show something. They're working on stuff, why not show it? Like just go into depth. I guess they're afraid to talk about it or something, I don't know. Like give us some more hints. And plus the stories like you said, Simon, it's too much stuff going on and not enough people to manage it all. So they're leaving stuff out that matters. Over here bothering. Think you're your thumper? Yeah, that's true. Actually, he jumps into my life. Not really. No, that'd be very destructive. He's sitting here and all of a sudden, wow! Let's see here. There's nothing else to react to. What the heck? I was hoping there'd be more. You watch like one video and it turns into like 7 sometimes. Space Marine 2 is a reminder of what we lost. I wonder what he means by that. I don't think I've ever watched it. How to fillet a whole flounder with parasites? Wow, that's super interesting. I'll be honest, it is interesting, but not what I'm looking for. Where the heck? No, not new to me. Grilling? I just looked at a Final Fantasy video and you're not going to give me Final Fantasy up here? Dude, my brother in Christ. What is going on? Hidden dish bit, lurk mode? Alright. What just happened? Look at this, hold on.
You're eating chunky peanut butter. Yes, I am. Is it good? You kidding me? A little Nutella on top? I've never had it. You have not yet lived, my friend. You don't like the creamy one? I loved it when I was a kid. I've since been enlightened. You're always welcome to have some if you ever want any. I do appreciate your kindness. If you're ever ready to enjoy the finer things in life, help yourself. You're eating chunky peanut butter.
About to put you onto some of the best instant ramen you can get. And no, it's not Shin. Because as some of you know, I'm a special education teacher. And we just went back to school, and tonight was Meet the Teachers, so please believe me when I tell you, I'm exhausted. But I still have to make dinner, so instant ramen it is. Now, is it really ramen without toppings? I've got some chashu. It's been in my freezer for who knows how long. but it doesn't smell bad, so it's probably fine.
But it doesn't
It's cut
smell
pretty
bad.
thin, so searing the outside should warm it through. Now some green onions, some kamaboko, and then I'll be honest, I'm anticipating this happening. So the other day I went ahead and marinated a couple eggs. Oh, so jammy. Now this is what you need. I have never in my life had a better instant ramen than this. And sometimes the packaging looks like this, but it's the same thing. Now just boil your noodles, and if you want to feel extra bougie, use a little bit of that boiling water to warm up your bowl. Fancy. Now we're just gonna add our broth packet to our bowl and ladle in a couple cups of that noodle water. Lay in some of our noodles and add our toppings.
Instant ramen.
About to put you into some of the best.
Dang.
This is my phone that I accidentally shot a hole through.
Whenever I want to.
As a blind mom of 2, here's how I know my child.
Where are all the Final Fantasy videos? That's what I'm looking for. Is that... Oh, I was going to talk about the Force Gaming one. That's right. So he was talking about video where he was talking about MMORPGs. He says, I was wrong about MMORPGs.
Okay, well, I guess it's time to admit it. I was wrong about MMOs. How many times over the years in conversation?
And yeah, I pre-watched this. Like, I've already seen it. But yeah, he talks about some pretty interesting things about MMOs that you would not think would be, hey, I'm wrong about this. Like, you wouldn't think that would be the answer. But let's see what he says.
About this genre, have you heard the following? It gets good at endgame. Or what about this one? The real game starts at endgame. I know I've heard this countless time. For many years, in fact, I've thought and said as much myself. That for the most part, MMOs, the game doesn't really get going until the max level or until endgame. And there is some truth to.
And that's the problem with MMOs today. That mentality. That's why they sell level boosts and stuff like that, because they know people will buy them. Sell level boosts. They sell the class skips and story skips and all kinds of stuff. They do it for Final Fantasy, which is kind of crazy because Final Fantasy is probably one of the most unique MMOs in a sense that the game itself begins when you get out of Character Creator and you start those first steps into the story through that cinematic. And it's like, and I always tell people, if you don't care about like the story of Final Fantasy, if you're not a story gamer, you probably should just skip over it. I'll be honest with you. Not all games are for everyone. And not all games have to be for everyone. That's, I'm not being selfish in saying that. I'm just saying that you can't make something that pleases everybody. You can please some of the people all the time and all the people some of the time. But you can't please all the people all of the time. You have to make a sacrifice. Isn't that how that saying goes? Some of the people all the time, all the people some of the time? Yeah, so. Like, there's nothing that's going to be... You're going to have 100% return on 100% of your investment all the time. It doesn't make any sense. It's not true. So please, if you don't like story games and you feel like you have to buy a skip, a lot of people say, well, I have a lot of fun doing the raids. And I'm like, okay, you're probably one of the chosen few, because I'll be honest, the game starts from the time you log into it to the time you get off. Because from story to dungeon to in-game, like trial bosses and getting there, it's a package. And if you don't like part of the package, if you think part of the sandwich is shit, then why eat the sandwich? That's just me. Maybe I'm
that for sure.
Maybe I'm retarded.
There's a lot of truth to it. That's why it's said very often. So for example, in most MMOs, it's not until max level that you'll have things like your class's full suite of abilities and spells unlocked, or access to the most difficult content, be that the dungeons, raids, or PvP. And in doing those things, that's where you start acquiring the gear that often comes with additional build and playstyle altering effects. And with all of those elements, with all of those things coming together, it is at the end game when you really start to master your class.
Now all I keep pausing, but all these games he's talking about, like MMOs, are also RPGs, and RPGs are like that. You get into the RPG, you play the RPG. Now you don't play the RPG to be like, I just want to be my end of journey self. No, there's a journey and there's tiers to that journey, and sometimes you're a little weaker and sometimes you're a little stronger, and sometimes you can always, most of the time you can stand up to the occasion and deal with the problem that's in front of you. But I mean, that's part of the RPG. I mean, if you want to play an MMO game that's just a massive world, then rip the RPG out of it. Don't make a game. Make Second Life or something. It doesn't make any sense to me. Final Fantasy, I feel, sort of fulfills that if you actually play the game, because on top of like character progression through the story, you also have character progression with the gear. But at the same time, leveling in Final Fantasy from 1 to max level in this day and age does not feel great. It just doesn't. It's one of those games. It doesn't feel
getting
great.
better at executing your rotations or increasing your reaction time and expanding
it's part of the
your
reason
game
why he
knowledge
says-
in dungeon mechanics or PvP matchups, whatever the case may be. There is a whole extra layer of things that, while they might not be exclusive to endgame, they certainly start to come together. Everything starts coming online and is far more focused.
Like that, what he's talking about right there is something that you kind of filled in Final Fantasy, but it takes too long to get to each nugget, I feel like. It feels like you have part of a class here and there when you should get more of a package up front.
At the end game in MMOs. On top of that, having a good amount of fleshed out endgame content, that is vital for any MMO that hopes to have long-term success. Like, it takes developers 5 to 10 years to build the leveling process that in many cases nowadays, the hardest of hardcore players are finishing in under a week's worth of time.
But that doesn't matter. The hardest of hardcore players don't matter. They are always going to be the exception to the rule. You give people a game that's enjoyable to play through. I think the biggest problem is that people watch streamers, they watch content creators, they look at all these other people. They worry about what John's doing in his lane with his nice souped up fast car, passing me in my old jalopy. I don't want the old jalopy anymore. I want that. Instead of just enjoying what you've got with the story and looking ahead. But I think it's like a self-defeating, like a self-defeating thing where you want to play through a game, you want to have a deep, fulfilling game, you want to have a good experience, so people want to give you that experience. But then all of these guides and content creators and everything comes out, and there are things in the game that are intrinsically tied to these completionist aspects. And if you don't actually invest into them and try to get these things, use these guides, then the majority of the community either looks at or makes you feel like you're behind, when really you're playing at your own pace. You're enjoying the game as you want to enjoy it. I don't know. It feels like MMOs have become something that they should have never have become. They've become like super competitive or whatnot, whereas it should be something that you sit and enjoy. And I think that's something, I don't want to say it started with World of Warcraft when it released, because they reduced the time it takes to level and they took the hardcore grind out. Like, the grind had a reason, and a lot of people were like, well, it's just a waste of time. And I get that MMOs are expensive, so it feels like the whole like money thing like falls back into it. It's such a just, ugh. Like, I used to love playing Lineage 2 and grinding for hours and bullshitting with friends and then getting into PvP fights over grind spots or over castles and territory, different raid bosses that were in the open that you were battling other clans for. That was kind of fun, but it also takes a lot of time investment to have that experience. Maybe it's just understanding that being older, you won't be able to enjoy that experience like you could before. Maybe. I don't know. You just don't have that time. And it was something that was better experienced up front than anything else. Who knows?
So yes, you need that repeatable endgame PvE and PvP content to be solid, to be really well thought out if you want those players to stick around after that first few weeks in that first month, which for most MMO developers, they do want that because they have recurring income sources via things like subscriptions, battle passes, or season passes and the like. They would like you to keep on playing, so you keep on paying. This keeps the lights on, and ideally, it means the game will continue to get supported. So yes, endgame is very important. I'm not denying that, but I also think that in focusing so heavily on the endgame, we've also lost sight of the fact that the journey to that point needs to also be good, and that is what I was wrong about. It gets good at endgame doesn't cut it. In fact, I would argue that a major reason many new MMOs have failed over this past 10, 15, or 20 years is because that journey to max level is phoned in. It is paint by
Absolutely. I remember this. This was Firefall. This is Firefall. You drop the thumpers and you'd kill the bugs as they came out of the ground, and then you would farm up and get better weapons and stuff. I never really got that far into it because I never really understood it. But it was enjoyable. I just never I never really spent the kind of time that I needed to understand what was going down with it. But I mean, he's completely right. Like, if there's not an experience to be had, then what's the point of continuing to put time and time and time into these games if that experience isn't there? And Final Fantasy phones in their leveling experience, but the experience is then replaced with story game that is enjoyable. Like, the story, I guess it's hit or miss if you enjoy it or not.
numbers of an experience and seems to be made the way that it often is because, I don't know, MMOs have always been designed this way, and that's how it sort of feels. And if we ever hope to rekindle the magic of the MMO genre, and I think we can, and certainly we will one of these days, but first, in order for that to happen, these games need to start putting more thought into the journey to endgame. It shouldn't just be a footnote. It shouldn't just be something that you get through before things get good. The game needs to be good right away, and it needs to be good all along the way. And even more so, I don't think we should be breezing through this process either. What exactly am I talking about? Well, I'll tell you after a word from today's sponsor, New World. Today's video is sponsored by New World Eternum. The game is getting an update along with, at long last, a full-on console release with cross-platform functionality between PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. So everything from the original game will be here, but also there's some additions, changes, and improvements, including entirely new features and systems. The new content includes a 10-man raid, new PvP zone, repeatable endgame soul trials, cross-world arenas, and a revamp to the Cutlass Keys zone with new questing and enemies. There's also some quality of life features. They've added swimming to the game, made combat improvements, and to go along with the console release, there is now full native controller.
Wait, you can swim in New World now? I mean, I knew they added mounts, but swimming, finally? I can log in and just fish, and then swim across the water to the other side to fish over there. It's ingenious. I don't know why this didn't exist from the rip. You were literally a sailor when you came there. I don't understand why they wouldn't allow you to swim. Doesn't make any sense.
Support and a host of accessibility features. So this coming weekend, they are hosting a cross-platform beta test. It is fully open beta with no buy-in, so anyone who's interested can jump in and check it out for free. The beta will include the new changes to the early game story and progression, and it lets you level up to a cap of 30, which gives you the chance to check out all the new content up to that point, which includes arenas, the faction system, mounts, and the first early game dungeon. If you would like to check out New World Eternum and see some of this new content yourself, you can download the open beta on Steam, Xbox, or PlayStation 5 after 9 a.m. Pacific time on September the 11th, with the beta officially going live on September 13th. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick quiz here, okay? What MMO am I talking about? So the game starts out after character creation with you loading into a humble little village. There's a nearby NPC who has a quest marker right above their head with a task for you to go complete in the nearby area. You finish that quest and are then pointed to a camp further beyond where you find a pair of NPCs who also need help. And then before you know it, you've completed a bunch of quests, you've killed some wildlife monsters and bandits, you've leveled up a few times, you've moved through a handful of hubs and explored all the areas in the starting zone. You are then directed to a nearby adjacent zone, which is a bit visually different from the last one, and here you find yet another NPC with another quest. And this whole thing takes you somewhere in the vicinity of 1 or 2 hours, give or take. You repeat the process in this second zone, and then roughly 1 to 2 hours later, you find yourself arriving in the third zone, and you rinse and repeat this process until you eventually reach max level. Okay. So what MMO am I talking about here? If you guessed Retail WoW, you are correct. There's been a lot of discussion recently about how fast leveling is in this most recent expansion, with many players clocking in just shy of 10 hours to go from levels 70 to 80. But the War Within aside, leveling hasn't been much difficult or time consuming in retail WoW in a very long time, especially when you're starting a fresh character beginning at level 1. You are just blazing through these initial zones, going through several of them in under 5 hours. However, this isn't exactly specific to retail WoW, is it? Because if you thought I was talking about Lost Ark, you were correct. If you thought I was talking about the Elder Scrolls Online, you were correct. If you thought about Neverwinter, of Taurus Land, if you thought I was talking about the upcoming release of Throne and Liberty, you were correct in all of those instances. If you thought I was talking about any of the failed MMOs over this past 10 or 15 years, you were correct. And if you were thinking of any in-development MMOs, I am guessing when we eventually play them in the next 5 to 10 years, we will learn you were probably also once again correct. The experience that I outlined here is near identical in so many of these games. But really, the part that I'm talking about isn't the questing hub portion. I don't think there's anything wrong with the design of questing hubs directing you through and around and then into the next zone. That in of itself isn't really a problem. Really, it's all about the speed in which this is happening and what you're doing within that time. In so many modern MMOs, the leveling has been designed as a means to an end, something to get through as quickly as possible so you can start really playing the game. And that's where I think we've lost our way. We are so focused on getting to the quote good parts of MMOs that we are blazing through what should also be the good parts of the game. Part of this can definitely be attributed to player mentality. Like there is a desire that people have to rush through to get to the max level as quickly as possible. It's absolutely true.
developers also to
I've
blame.
noticed
Come
it
on, man.
in my own play experience for sure, and I often see it talked about as being a big difference in the MMO player base nowadays versus say how it was 20 years ago. Now I want to make it clear we had min-maxers back then as well, but generally we all sucked together. Like even the min-maxers in 2004 were by today's standards comparatively total and complete noobs. But player mentality aside, many of these games are now also just designed this way, where the leveling is structured and paced in a manner that it can be blazed through. I mean, currently, if you're starting brand new with a fresh character, you never played the game before, you can reach max level in the Elder Scrolls Online, for example, takes about 50 hours. Guild Wars 2 is like 30 to 35 hours. Retail WoW can take about 25 hours. Lost Ark's like 10 hours, and Throne and Liberty, that's like 6 or 5 hours. Now keep in mind, these are all very rough estimates. It's highly variable depending on player skill and also your play style. And on top of that, in many cases here, it can be much faster. You can reach max level in a lot of these games in like under 5 hours. And then of course, on the flip side, it can also take a whole heck of a lot longer. But as a rough guideline for people playing the game what we would consider normally as the developer intended, doing a quest, killing mobs, and going through the zones sort of like at a natural pacing, those rough estimates are generally what you can expect for each of these games. And these estimates are just so much more streamlined and fast-tracked and way faster pacing than what we saw in a lot of MMOs in the past. And I would argue that the faster leveling often equates to less time spent in each individual part of the world. You're spending less time in each of the zones as you go through them, and this has created less of a connection to these worlds, and that then results in a less immersive experience. And an MMO that isn't as immersive definitely loses much of the magic that I think makes the genre great. I really do think that this is one of the bigger problems with modern MMOs. There's a lot of factors that go into an MMO being good, but on top of all of those, the fact that we are blazing through 90% of the content so fast to get to the remaining 10% of the content as quickly as possible, which we naturally, inevitably grow tired of, because so much about MMO endgame basically equates to doing the same things over and over and over again, doing the same dailies, going along the same farming routes, doing the same PvP battlegrounds, and running the same dungeons. So not too long ago,
which is why I don't really understand why people are like, man, we really got to get to the end game in this game, it's gonna be awesome. But why not just enjoy the game for what it is? Explore the world, explore the crafting, explore the dungeons. You don't need the best of the best of the best of the best right off the rip. And I feel like the player mentality of that is, I mean, it was also fed by developers, but it's just ruined. The reason it was fed by developers because production companies wanted money, and the best way to get money is to, you know, appease to the lowest common, you know, denominator and build up from there. I don't know, because I mean I'm guilty of doing this in Final Fantasy, not rushing to the end game. Because when I sit down and I play through an expansion, I don't rush to the end game because I'm not a guide maker. Like, there's no reason for me to rush to the end game. I don't get anything out of it. Like, nobody that I know does, because it's like, we need to rush to the end game, and it's like, what are you gonna world first? Unless you're placing like top 10 in the world, I don't want to hear you talk about rushing anything. Like. And I don't mean people that like just kind of phone it in on their race to world first, but they actually have like a realistic chance they're really good players or whatnot, and they have that focus. Like if you know, if any of my buddies were to come out and say that, and then they were actually in the race to world first and like gotten like the top 10, I'd be like, oh goddamn, you know, that's pretty good. But I mean, that's the game's more than just the race and all that other junk. And there's so much more to the game. There's social aspect of it, meeting with people, hanging out, joining parties, and running stuff with other people. It's like, I mean, I get that it's repetitious, but unfortunately, that's kind of what in-game has become. Just a simplified version of what it used to be. What it used to be was like an in-depth, like, stuff that would tie you to the world. Like, I mean, even World of Warcraft, even when it was like the casual MMO, would do things that tied you to the world, that forced you to travel around, to unlock things, to get attuned, to spend time getting gear just to be able to enter a place because it's covered in fire, so you need fire resist. It had those RPG aspects, which is a big deal to a lot of people. And now people see those as like a major annoyances or anything like that. Oh, you mean I need to have gear to fight stronger enemies? That's stupid. It's just, I don't know. I don't get it. And I can ramble on about it for hours and hours and hours. And I feel like it's like a topic that everybody feels differently on. But I feel like one of the major reasons as to the separation of like people being immersed in the worlds is there's no reason to exist in the world. There's no reason to really invest time into it. Everybody's looking for like, and I guess Preach has it the best. Like RPers have it the best because they find a way to ground themselves to the world and then make their own stories. Anyways, I digress.
There was a new game revealed called Fellowship. It is called a multiplayer online action game with what they say has endlessly scaling dungeons. The idea here is that the entire thing is basically just MMO-inspired endgame dungeon runs, as if you were to take World of Warcraft, pull out all the Mythic Plus content, and then just have that be its very own game. So when describing Fellowship, the developer, Chief Rebel, says you can jump into the endgame content straight away, and you don't have to spend hours and hours grinding just to get to the fun stuff. Now, I am going to check out Fellowship. I actually think it looks quite interesting, and it could be a lot of fun on its own. But when thinking about MMOs in particular, I realized that I don't agree that the best part of the genre is running its dungeons over and over and over again. That is fun for sure. Like, I enjoy that content. The process of stepping into a dungeon for the first time and then going through it, learning its in and outs, run after run, learning every mob and boss encounter.
What in the World of Warcraft am I looking at?
Every single engagement memorized. That whole arc up to the point of getting a dungeon to farm status, that process can be very enjoyable. It is very enjoyable. I like it, but it's not my favorite part of MMOs, and I don't even think it's the most fun part part either. For me, my favorite
This is a very
part, what I
interesting
like
looking
the
game.
most about this genre is the world and everything that happens within it as you play, as you discover, and as you learn the game. So much of that can, and I think should be, while going through the exploring and leveling process for the first time. I don't want to be in and out of a zone in under 2 hours like we see in a lot of MMOs nowadays. I want to steep in it. I want to be immersed. And I think that is, like I said, a big part.
He is still stuck in Barrens. He is still stuck in the Barrens on his orc, looking for Mankirk's wife. Hours and hours looking for Mankirk's wife because she's right by the road by the tent, but you just can't figure it out. No, but I get what he's saying. I completely get what he's saying. I remember, and it's in Classic WoW, so a lot of people probably play Classic WoW, but I remember in Vanilla WoW, because it was a bit harder back then because knowledge was not as readily available as it is now. But doing the what was that place called? It was the Hinterlands, and there was a troll tribe there that had like a gong that you had to ring. And there is an entire quest line that had you run all over the world to create this thing to be able to hit the gong effectively. And you did like all these quests in these different zones while you're questing in these different zones to go and hit this gong to get a, I'm pretty sure it was like a really good, like pretty decent axe. And a lot of people would probably look at that today and be like, man, I just, I just want to get to the end. But if you sit down and you like deal with all the lore and everything that's in the game while you go and collect the gong, the thing to hit the gong, like all the stuff that like ties into it, there's like an intricate world story there that you're taking part in, that you're just an explorer and adventurer that's putting these pieces together and then getting your, treasure hunter reward at the end. It's such a crazy thing, but the fact that people went out of their way to do this, even if they didn't need the axe, I think it was an axe, maybe a two-handed axe or something like that, because I remember getting it on my shaman. It was pretty good. Like these items in the world kind of remind me of like items you can find in Baldur's Gate or in any Dungeons and Dragons type world, where it's like a special type of weapon that has a special type of activation. If you use it, it has a chance to do something, or does something special, or it's just a special item in general. Like I don't understand why people don't enjoy those kinds of things anymore, those kinds of stories, those kinds of gameplay interactions. I really don't. But I mean, I guess we're all unique in our own way, and today's gamer is modern warfare, drop in, gotta get your and then drop out, sort of, Fortnite brain, gotta Adderall my base up because I took a shot, type of gamers. And it's kind of sad, but I mean, I don't think it's a complete loss. I think there is definitely a story out there, a world or something that is enjoyable, that hopefully people can be drawn into, because I miss games that told stories like that. And it's crazy to think that World of Warcraft told like a world story that was worth its weight. It was really good. I mean, it tied into the original games and led into a World of Warcraft, quite literally.
Part of what's been lost with leveling being streamlined and us being fast-tracked straight into the end game dungeon farming as soon as possible. We are losing this massive chunk in the middle, and if that chunk's not engaging enough, then you also have the problem of people quitting before they even get to the end game. And to be precise, I'm not even talking about the aspect of leveling itself. There's nothing like inherently fun about getting enough experience to go from levels 10 to 11. You get the process of slowly unlocking and kind of opening up your character as it gets more abilities, more passive and active spells. That is cool, but the fun part is the things that you're doing in the process while that power progression is also happening, because I'm really talking about exploring the world, discovering and engaging in things, moving through the zones, completing quests, grinding mobs, exploring the terrain, doing whatever activities the MMO has, and of course ideally interacting with other players in some capacity along the way. These are the moments that would have created some of my best memories in all my time playing this genre. etc. And I think when games are speeding up that process, they're speeding up the exploration and discovery of the world and the level by virtue of the leveling that we miss out on a lot of potential. So recently, Greg Street, also known as Ghostcrawler, touched on this topic. Previously, having worked on World of Warcraft and the Riot MMO, he is now the studio head of Fantastic Pixel Castle, who have their own new MMO in development. It's still like probably at least 5 years away, but they're working on a game. Now, last week, Greg posted the following thread in which he said, "Someone asked me if it's a mistake to streamline the leveling experience and let players get to endgame ASAP because that's what they love. My answer is yes. I think it's the leveling experience that we all fell in love with and invested in MMOs." He is absolutely on point with that statement. I 100% agree. And then he went on to say, "I think getting to level cap should be an accomplishment and not a blip. The end game is very, very important, and a lot of MMOs fail because they have a good leveling experience and a lame end game, so we won't forsake that." I'll push back here and say that I don't think a lot of modern MMOs actually do deliver on a good leveling experience. They have a phoned in leveling experience, like I said, and then an end game that also doesn't hold up. Obviously, the MMOs that have stuck around over this past 10, 15, 20 years, they have delivered that in some sense, but a lot of the ones that have come and gone, they have failed at both the end game, but also the leveling and immersion. And then he wraps up by saying, "But I also think the leveling should be challenging and a bit of effort and not something you cruise through so that you
Phone
can
it in,
start
let's go.
rating." Even when I was on WoW, I held this opinion. So taking what Greg said here, much of which I agree with, I think that a lot of MMOs would be best served doing the following. The trend of shortening the leveling process, I think, is the wrong direction. We should be extending the leveling process. And I am not suggesting just creating artificial grinds, but rather
Man, my cooldowns are so weak at this level.
From the get-go, and then filling the world with content so that the whole experience is fun from levels 1 all the way to max level. Let us spend time in these worlds. Let us get immersed. Have us be in these zones long enough so that we actually get to know them, rather than making a character and going from the Shire to the Gates of Mordor in 8 hours. No thank you. That's way too accelerated to really get invested in the space, and that's what I want from my MMOs. Because when leveling isn't set to 10x speed and you spend several afternoons in one zone rather than just 1 or 2 hours, you can really get to know it, doing quests that send you back to prior areas, finding grinding spots, exploring and revisiting sections, discovering new things that you hadn't seen before while you're doing all of this.
Good
This whole
lord,
thing
that's
can pull
right.
you in
Back in the
and
day
add
when
a lot of immersion. I will
bosses
also
get
add
crit.
here, I think traversal plays a big role. Slowing down the speed at which players can get from one end of the world to another helps also to create immersion. Fast
I don't think I
travel
can pull
come
away from
into
the boss, can I?
equation, but I think if it does, it should be
Oh my
much
goodness, he
later
just-
down the road. In fact, the most immersive MMOs that I've ever played have
Oh,
all
ads.
relied heavily on real-time travel methods. So first, this is you
That poor guy
walking
got
with your
blasted.
character, but then introducing things like flight paths, ox carts, blimps, and trains, eventually getting access to your own personal mounts. But the traversal should not be me instantly going from the starter area, instantly fast traveling to the next area. I think at the very least, while games can have this and every game is different, I do think that takes away and pulls you out of the world immersion. And then also leaning into Greg's mention of difficulty as well, I agree that this is a big
I didn't realize he had
factor.
gotten
I don't
struck.
believe we need to go the route of having every mob in the open world require a full 5-man group with a tank healer and damage dealers. That's a bit much, but making the world so that it's dangerous enough so that players are best served occasionally working together, that is absolutely huge. It helps so much. This was made super evident last year playing hardcore classic WoW, where just one wrong move would mean your character's demise.
Oh.
But even in regular classic, the difficulty was at such a level that it almost forced a sense of community, and this is how it was back in 2004. This is how it was in the MMOs that I played before WoW, and playing Asheron's Call and playing EverQuest and many of those pre-WoW MMOs. In many of these
Yeah,
games,
CC
if
for
you
like the whole
pulled
fight.
one extra
Poor
mob,
guy.
if you pulled 2 mobs instead of 1, it probably resulted in a corpse run, which meant you losing time and having to go back to your character. And when everyone in the game has this same shared experience, you see people just naturally working together. Even if it is just quid pro quo, that's fine. It adds that sense of camaraderie and community because we're all going through the same struggle. So slowing down the leveling, sticking to real-time travel speeds, that helps keep us immersed, and then making combat encounters enough of a challenge that the threat of dying is ever present. These things all really help to create a much more immersive experience on the journey to max level, and that immersion helps create many more memories, in my opinion. And yeah, when we get to the max level, as we've discussed, endgame is very important for long-term player retention. You need to have a good loop of activities and things for people to do. That is what's going to keep your most dedicated players active long-term. But it just feels like so many MMOs nowadays have made the leveling portion and getting towards endgame just a means to an end, instead of having that also be an actually enjoyable part of the experience. It's more of just something for you to suffer through. So yes, I fully admit I was wrong about MMOs. The real game doesn't start at endgame. It starts when we first log in, and the best MMOs I've ever played do a good job of making that journey to endgame memorable and immersive, and I am looking forward to whatever new MMO comes along that does this once again as well, because I think there's a lot of elements that go into having a good MMO. You need that good endgame, you need the repeatable content, and even though we're repeating that content over and over and over again, we're farming the same dungeons, we're doing the same raids, we're engaging in PvP in the same areas, we're going along the same resource gathering routes, we're crafting the same items 100 times, even though there's a repetition innate to endgame and MMOs, the MMOs that make that repetition feel fresh in some capacity, mixing things up in some way, those are the ones that have a lot of success, and players tend to stick around with the endgame. But there's so much that goes into it, right? You need to create an interesting world, you need a good combat, you absolutely need good combat, it needs to be snappy, engaging, and have I
mean, he's completely right about that. Like the combat in Final Fantasy isn't super responsive. I think that is something that hurts it a lot. But I don't know. Like combat is something that we do like a lot of in MMOs. It's one of the bread and butter of the gameplay, right? On top of picking up flowers and handing it in to quest givers, you're going to be hitting things really hard with a stick, or throwing fireballs at it, or firing sharpened sticks at it. Like, take your pick, right? And that combat has to be very interactive and fun. And while the combat, at least the player-controlled part of the combat in this game, is it's got its responsiveness issues. They've done a really good job with it. I've never tanked this boss, or have I? It's been a while. Yeah, let's get him off the screen. Bye bye, Force Gaming. I haven't played this class in forever, so my gun breakering is horrible. This doesn't knock you in the air, does it? It sure does. Oh, I forgot. That's a thing. Oh, I didn't have that on 3. I haven't. I'm dropping the spaghetti. I'm dropping all the spaghetti. Are these cows? Yeah. I don't know how to play this class at all. Oh, Jesus. Oh, that's gonna hit me. Oh! I completely forgot that that does that. Okay, these are birds, I think. Oh, jeez, I should have kept moving. Oh, well. Is that... Yeah. That's that one. Oh, no, one of my healers. Not like this. I don't like this at all. Why are you doing this to me? Oh my god. Hey, we did it. We did it. All right. I'll stay for leveling. Do do do. Do 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 do. Alright, so what I need to do is I need to go here. No mercy. Turn that off. Reign of Beasts. We'll leave that on. That's ooh baby. Ooh baby, that's a big one. There's a big boy right there. Did we get a level 90 dungeon? Or something? 92, aren't I? Maybe I'll do a 91 dungeon, maybe. Some all. Of course. I don't have a gap closer. That's rude. Remember when that used to stack? Or did it? I'm pretty sure it did, though. Buttons feel weird. I think that's good enough, though. Double down, double dipping. Ugh. Oh no. About 7 minutes. I feel like we could have done it faster. Don't think I got the maximum usages of my my sprint in here, but it is what it is. Oh, Sonic Break. What the? Probably because everybody else passed on it. What? I missed getting both of those in there. It's okay. I'll do comment here in a second. I just ate 2 of those. Oh, I thought he was gonna take some damage on that. There we go. Not bad. Could have been better. Could have been fast. What the hell? I'm so confused right now. Which one are there? Oh, there are 3. Well, that's it for me, guys. I'm going to be heading out of here. If you hung out with me through my rants and ravings and my terrible Gunbreaker gameplay, go ahead and consider dropping a follow. Yeah. All right. Mm-hmm.